Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching in the world. Sean Driver, the Red Horde, and this is the Who Are You series, where we're taking a look at the teams that Wrexham will play in League One and letting you know who they are, the gaffer, the players, the seasons that they've had, their history. And so we'll get about doing that, and the question is going to be for Reading. This is the second video that I've put together today, so I'm trying to do them in one take, so bear with me if they get a little bit ugly as we compare everything, but I'm just going to jump right into this, and let's go. If you haven't been here before, the Red Horde, three types of videos that we end up doing. We're here for the watch-alongs, and we will be there for Reading on the weekend, 7 a.m. on the west coast of North America, 10 a.m. on the east coast of North America, and obviously 3 p.m. For those of you in the UK. So join us for that. Also do hors d'oeuvres, where we take a look at things that happen off the pitch and how they affect things on the pitch. We just did that recently, earlier today, with the charge that Wrexham AFC and Sheffield had for their improper or provocative conduct, and what that may mean as far as fines. If you're interested in that, it's on the channel. Feel free to find that one. And then obviously the Who Are You series, where we're going to jump into looking at Reading FC and what to expect, who they are, and all that sort of stuff. So taking a look at the graphic here that we've put together for everything, and I will say two things. One, I have verified the pitch dimensions as they're listed on either Wiki or Football Grounds Guides or anything that's out there that tells about what the yards are. And there is a wide divergence between the different stadiums around League One. So they're correct. There was one mistake that I had to correct. We haven't dealt with that team yet, and so everything stays the same. The rankings remain the same, and away we go with that. The second thing that I did, I was asked to bring in the Wrexham information, and I'm going to do that. I have that information with me, but rather than do it on a one-on-one each time, I will probably just end up doing a video that goes through some of these details and some of these particulars, little bit by little bit, over the course of the year. As it comes to Reading FC, known as the Royals, also known as Ding, a little bit embarrassing, I had to look up. I thought, the Ding, what's the history on the Ding? Why the Ding? And I couldn't find anything until I realized Red Ding, and I'm slow. I apologize. It's getting to 2 o'clock in the morning here as I'm working on this. Founded in 1871, that makes them the second oldest within League One. 174,820 as a population draw for Reading. That's 7th in the EFL. The last match, December 29th, 2001. I looked up the charts for that one in the UK. The #1 song on the UK charts, Something Stupid by Robbie Williams and Nicole Kidman. And for those of you in North America, going with a Canadian band, and I apologize in advance for them, Nickelback. And the song at the time was How You Remind Me. Last season, 17th. Look, this has been an issue with Reading. They've had 6-point deductions over the last 3 years as a consequence of their current owner. There's been an ownership change that's been discussed, so we anticipate some changes, if not this week, in the immediate. And I guess for Reading fans, it's probably desired any minute now, and wanted probably yesterday, to be fair. Turnover, Reading FC, lots of history, a large stadium, a large draw, so their turnover quite big, 13.8, puts them 7th overall in League One. Their profit loss, again, a little high, minus 35.7. That's why they've been dealing with issues with paying staff and the ongoing financial saga that is Reading FC. Social media is still relatively positive, 1,075,710. That puts them near the top of League One. Wrexham leading the charge, obviously, in that regard. But they're up there compared to most. Historically, Majeski Stadium, it's now known for advertising purposes as Select Car Leasing Stadium, also their front of kit provider. Distance from the racecourse, when we go to Reading, this will be the 19th longest trip that we'll be making. The away allocation quite large, 5th most in the EFL, or in League One anyway, at 4,300. Their capacity, they've got numbers, 24,161 can fit into the stadium. The percentage, though, that they're filling it, only about half, 54% last year, 13,115, and I guess that's a consequence of two things. A, they've slid down, typically a championship club with blips into league, into the Prem. They've stepped down, so you lose fans, obviously, when that happens, and then also with the financial stuff that's been going on, it's been troubling. The pitch dimensions, 115 by 74 yards. That is the 5th largest in the EFL. Gonna jump really quickly to, this is the map. of the drive from the Stoke Ras to the Select Car Leasing Stadium, roughly about 3.5 hours when you're hopping in the car and you're taking that haul, going through Brum on the way. So it is what that is on the trip. We've talked about the stadium itself. It is a gorgeous stadium. I will give them that. And so a relatively new one, and it looks to be in good shape, and you'd expect that from a club that has had the successes that it has in the past. Rob Kuig, former Wickham Wanderers owner, receiving his gift basket, or giving his gift basket to Robin Ryan because he sold the club, and he said that was because of the success internationally and the interest that is available in people purchasing clubs. So he sold the Wickham Wanderers. He's now stepping in and buying Reading FC. We understand he's the one who took those pictures, and so we'll see him transferring over to Reading FC. We hope, the fans hope, I think everybody hopes. As far as the kit is concerned, you'll notice the away, it's a red one. So that probably means they're going to be wearing that teal or cyan or whatever you want to call it, the third that's there. They are Macron induced. The print is fine. There's nothing flashy with them. I give them a B- because there's nothing really great about them and nothing really horrible about them, and we'll see what happens with the kit. There's the coach, Ruben Sellis, was with Southampton before this when they were in the Prem, and he had 17 matches taking over, and I guess in the role with them, and only got 2 wins. He's now with Reading and leading the charge there. Don't really have much of a coaching history, not a player history. I know he's 41 years of age. I don't know the style that he plays other than in the game that we watched last Saturday. And I guess that's the benefit, is I know a little bit about this club, which informs the whole player process. Their league performance, you'll see they entered into the 3rd tier. And then they've largely battled through that for the majority of things until, I guess, the 80s. And then they started their climb and ascendancy up into the Prem. They've spent 3 seasons up into the Premier League. 2005, 2006, they won the championship. 2011, 2012, they won the championship. Their high water mark, they have an 8th place in 06-07. That was their 2nd year in the Prem. Or sorry, the first year. The first year in the Prem. Wouldn't be, because the 2nd year they got relegated. Sorry, 06-07 was their first year in the Prem after their 05-06 championship win in Tier 2. So that's their history. They've now done the slide largely because of financial stuff. And I will say this, those 6-point deductions hurt them in 22-23. That they had finished with 44 points after the deductions. Had they not have had point deductions, they would have been at 50 points, and that would have saved them from relegation. And Cardiff City would have been the team that fell down into League One, relegated that season. So fortunate for Cardiff City, I guess, in that instance. Looking at last year as to how things went, we already know that they tied 17th. Massive difference between their home form and their away form last year. Don't know if that'll hold true, but 12 wins, 5 draws, 6 losses at home, and a plus 15 away from at home. Away from home, they were 4 wins, 6 draws, and 13 losses, and a minus 17. So let's hope that at least continues for the first little bit into this season as they come to the Kairos, and that road record would be nice. As far as transfers in and transfers out, no news, and that's largely because of financial reasons. It is a young club, but it is built internally, and they have 2 loan outs, but nobody coming into the team. So when we end up going and having a look at looking at the players, Sam Smith led the team in scoring last season with 15, and watching him, I didn't really see much from him live. They have some great players, but all 3 of them younger, and all 3 of them didn't really perform well last year. But Sam Smith, they're going to be looking at him, and they're also going to be looking at Harvey Nibbs, 25 years old. Again, he doesn't have a goal this year, but he was near the top of the team scoring last year. So those are the 2 forwards up front, and you'd expect something from them. They haven't really been performing. But who has been performing? Kelvin, and I'm going to try and get this right because I had somebody tweet me. It's Ehi Bashoman. And it might be Bashoman or Bashoman. Bashoman, I'm not certain, but I'll go with Ehi Bashoman. He plays on their left, so whoever's going to be on our right for us, whether that's Barney, whether that's Revan, whether that's, Cleworth or Scar, they're going to have their hands full with him. Loves to run to the goal line and then draw passes back, and he ended up hitting a beautiful pass to Charlie Savage for the first goal. Charlie Savage, obviously the Welshman, that's his 1 goal of the year. He just leaked into the middle of the box and got an amazing pass from Kelvin Ehibashuman and put that one in. He's quick, he's tall, he's engaged, he sees the field well. I was very, very, very impressed with him, and he's going to be a handful down that left-hand side. The other players that I was really impressed with, Mbengwe, he played on the right side of their center back, so they had four, and he was on the right middle of their center backs in the back four. And he was impressive the entire game. He was everywhere. He's not a big man. He's young, 22 years of age, but he tackled well. He was there for headers. He was reckless abandon. He was a go-getter. He was quick. His passes to lead things up, he was almost flawless in the back line. And so I was exceptionally impressed with him. And the other person I was impressed watching the Wigan Athletics game was Jeriel Dorset. He plays on the left of their back four, and he shut down almost every attempted entry. Wigan played in a 3-5-2 or call it a 5-3-2 or however you want, the same format, the same formation as we play in Wrexham, and those crosses that were coming in from the wings were consistently shut down. I'd love to see Barney. I think he's the person to be on the wing because of his crosses and his propensity for them and taking on Dorset, but at the same time Dorset did a remarkable job. Charlie Savage, I just mentioned him briefly. Obviously, he's born in England, but he plays for the Welsh club. I think he's only had 2 games with them, and I think the report card, from what I recall on Twitter, is that they're not entirely sold on what Charlie's going to be. But at 21 years of age, already making the club, already drawing in, and watching him play and find space continually throughout the game. It wasn't so much him with the ball. It wasn't so much with him defensively. It was his ability to find open space on the attack and receive ball that made him a constant threat. And I was rather impressed with his ability to do so. Now, maybe that's just because of the quality of Wigan that space was available, but he was certainly able to do that in the game. Joel Pereira has taken over the goalkeeping duties. I did have to look up 6 shots on goal, 6 saves, but then he has a goal against. That was from a penalty kick in the 1-1 draw with Birmingham to start the season away. So interesting season for Reading. League play, they've looked really good. Away, they drew with Brum. The home game, they handled Wigan, and even though it was only a 2-0 score, watching that game, it probably should have been 4 or 5-0. They had opportunities everywhere, and they just kept coming downhill at Wigan. They've had a penalty kick loss to Colchester in the EFL Cup round 1, and then they had a 3-1 win over West Ham just recently on Tuesday. And the interesting thing about that game against West Ham, by not having any players coming in and not having players coming out, they've only got like really 20 active players. And so they had a lot of players that were playing. Ehi Bashaman played, and Mbengwe did not. Dorset, I think he did. I'd have to double check. But in any event, they're there. And look, young team, hungry team, started the season trying to prove themselves, cut their teeth. They've got stuff happening in the back of house, but if they can turn their minds off, they seem like they have some talent to be able to run, and it's demonstrated that in League One. For how long they can continue that over the course of a long, grueling League One 46-game season, certainly yet to be desired. Look, I will say this, just a couple of things to take a pause. First, if you are from Reading and you're listening to this, I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to find a content creator that will give the response and will be able to say, what's the situation with the ownership stuff, and do they know anything about Kuig and when he's coming in and when he's not coming in and what we're waiting for? Do we know anything with respect to Smith and Nibs as far as their contribution? Is there a way for 15 goals last year is no slouch, and that's not shown up on the sheets yet. Nothing to panic about. It's only been 2 matches, but you'd hope to see a little bit more, I think, from him, and I didn't even register on the radar during the Wigan match. So I'm going to figure would love to have a conversation with you. So if you're interested, feel free to catch up with me on that one. The other thing that I just want to suggest is subscribe if you enjoyed this thing. I'm going to be doing this all season long, going through all of the clubs and just talking about them generally and who they are, their history, and all that sort of stuff. And so go ahead and hit that button, and then come and join us for the watch along. 52 countries. We get anywhere from 200 to, well, I've had as many as 1,100, but that was a rarity. It's typically 200 to 400 people that are in there at any one time concurrently viewing. We get over 1,000 hits, and sometimes as many, 2,800 in the last one. Lots and lots of people stopping by to say hi and have their thoughts and express their wishes. And if you're from Reading, feel free to join us as well. As long as you're civil, you're always welcome. So anyway, the Red Horde, I'm going to wrap this one up. I don't think it's too long. It's only 15 minutes, so it's a quick one. But that's a byproduct of not really having any news in the transfer window because they didn't bring anybody in. It's the same team that they had last year. They finished 17th. They had a horrible start. I don't think that they'll necessarily have that again. And if they can avoid the point deduction, they'll probably be a team that's has hopes for making the playoffs. It's a long, grueling season with a limited roster. Oh, and the last thing I forgot. Who are they as far as a UK club? Look, these guys are an expired Tesco pie. I mean, pie, when you go to a restaurant, a meat pie, it's tasty. You look forward to it. It's wholesome. It fills you. It's a staple of the UK food hierarchy. It's fundamentally necessary, but this one's a little bit expired and a little bit stale and needs to be refreshed. It could still be something if it does get refreshed and they pull that off and give you something new. So maybe whether that's Kuig that brings it in the January window, who knows what happens if he's there. But I'm hoping they get that whole situation rectified. No fans deserve to go through that. In any event, Sean Driver, that's it. That's all. The Red Horde will see you on Saturday. Have a good one. Take care.